Huh. I wonder what's going on in the right-wing reactionary sphere of YouTube.
And fuck these guys, fuck this school, fuck Canada.
Oh. So, the charming guy telling an entire country to go fuck themselves is Sinatra Says. And I bet you're wondering what had him so worked up, right? I know I was. I mean, it must be something terrible. Let's check it out, shall we?
Oh my God. Teenage girl suspended from school for refusing to wear pro-LGBT Remembrance Day item. Yeah, you heard that right. So a girl, just a teenager, was suspended from school for not wearing some pro-LGBT Day remembrance item. I wonder if we get some clarification, because that sounds insane in and of itself.
It does sound pretty weird. I mean, alarm bells should be going off like crazy. I'm sure he's about to get to the bottom of it, though. This guy's definitely on top of his game.
A 17-year-old girl, Natalie Bird, was suspended from school for refusing to wear a Remembrance Day poppy containing a rainbow in support of LGBT plus causes. In a report by Canadian publication The Post Millennial, the girl is a cousin of former Conservative representative of North Canada, Sierra Bird. So kind of right off the rip, you kind of have to wonder if she was targeted because she was this Conservative member's cousin. Or maybe not, I don't know.
I love watching how grifters play that centrist game and leave it up to their largely bigoted audience to fill in the conclusion for themselves. She's a relative of a conservative somewhere, and she's getting targeted by those evil LGBT plus positive people. Not sure if this is a coincidence or not. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink. It isn't his fault, though. I'm sure he's completely unaware of what he's doing.
But you're not wearing a rainbow poppy, so you're getting suspended from school. Now, again, I'm not a super foreign intellectual, but isn't the poppy supposed to be for service members and things like that? I know my British audience will let me know, but I know the poppy is supposed to be something significant.
Are you telling me you made an entire video that revolves around Remembrance Day and the poppy, and you didn't even bother to look up what the poppy represents? You've got to be kidding me. Here, let me do the work for you. I'll even leave a link to the Canadian War Museum in the description box, just in case you decide to learn something, Sinatra.
Bird announced the news of her cousin's suspension on social media following her rejection of the newly added rainbow into the traditional red and black poppy to commemorate the millions of young soldiers who lost their lives in the two world wars. According to the Post Millennial, Bird's cousin Natalie and another student voiced their reproach toward the idea of infusing the LGBT rainbow into the poppy as disrespectful to those who lost their lives. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. You know she's just sitting there like, we'll be right back after this brief suspension for not kowtowing to the LGBT cartel. Got it.
Or, spoiler alert, it's all fake news. Your first hint that this story was rubbish, which you came oh so close to realizing all on your own, was the unbelievable nature of the story itself. The second one should have been that your primary news source is the Post Millennial, which is only a half step away from the complete and utter garbage found in places like Rebel Media. True, they occasionally get something right, but you should definitely cross-reference anything that you read there. And if you had done that, you might have realized that on November 8th, legitimate news sources began to report that this story was a complete fabrication. Then on November 9th, the woman Sinatra was quoting tweets from admitted that the event didn't actually happen. Now, you might be feeling charitable. You might be thinking to yourself that Sinatra had no way of knowing, and this is nothing more than a mistake. But if that's the case, I'd like to point you towards the date Sinatra published his video, November 13th. That means that by the time Sinatra published this video, it was already well known that this whole story was fake news. If he had done even a minimum of research beyond the right-wing rag post-millennial, he'd have known that this story wasn't true. So, what actually happened here? According to a National Post article, quote, when Julie decided to make a rainbow-colored poppy in 2018, she thought it was an innocent, noble gesture. A gay friend of mine asked about producing a rainbow version, And immediately I thought about Alan Turing and his struggles with being a gay man in World War II, so I thought it was a good idea, she wrote in an email, noting she's made 3-dimensional clay poppies for the last decade. Inspired by her friend's request and by Turing, a gay computer scientist whose work decoding Nazi Germany's secrets, the UK-based youth volunteer crafted the coin-sized, glittery enamel badge with a different color for each petal. She sold them on eBay, with proceeds going towards Poppy Appeal, a registered charity under the Royal British Legion. End quote. In other words, this had nothing to do with an LGBT plus cartel. This was an individual who was trying to do something nice for a friend of hers. Considering that Turing was a war hero and is widely considered to be, quote, the father of computer science and artificial intelligence, end quote, as well as someone who killed himself in 1954 after he was subjected to chemical castration, I personally don't see an issue with someone wishing to commemorate that tragedy with a multicolored poppy that hurts no one. It might also serve to raise awareness about those in the LGBT plus community who served and were instrumental in the defeat of Nazi Germany, as well as other wars. The people like Sinatra, who are usually whinging on about individualism, spent an entire video railing against individuals trying to do something nice for one another. The poppy was never pushed by LGBT plus groups. They were never mass-produced, and the whole story was rooted in fake news, which has now been spread and used to stoke outrage against vulnerable individuals in the LGBT plus community by people like Sinatra Says and his 100,000 plus fans. The National Post article said, quote, in light of misinformation which has been widely spread on social media, we will share that at no point did any staff member of Stonewall Collegiate or Interlake School Division direct nor mandate any student to wear a rainbow poppy, end quote. It's hard to tell what else happened since we're dealing with minors here and school officials are understandably concerned with protecting the privacy of its students. However, Bird has now deleted her tweets and apologized for spreading misinformation. I guess time will tell whether or not Sinatra Says has the same integrity, although it's now more than a week since he uploaded that video and I've seen no retraction, apology, or taking down of the video that is still up and spreading hate and misinformation to thousands of people. Before I wrap it up, I just want to point out 3 additional minor points in Sinatra's video.
She is suspended. Okay? This is what happens when you don't have any kind of hate speech, free speech protection in a fucking country.
So honestly, I just think it's funny that the guy who couldn't be bothered to look up the history of the poppy before making a video about it feels qualified to speak about hate speech laws in my country.
Canada has no laws against flag desecration or anything like that. You can get away with any of that shit. But if you don't wear a rainbow poppy, you get suspended. Okay, Canada. Okay.
And then right after that, he gets pissy because we allow the desecrating of our flag, which ironically would fall under free speech and expression.
Natalie says 2 male administrators continued to accuse her of hate speech. She then became so scared at one point that she was on the verge of tears. I got to the point of almost crying, but I didn't. I had to be the voice for all of the families who were greatly disrespected and offended. Yeah, that makes sense too. This is the party that say they are the defenders of women, so of course you need 2 males to yell at one innocent little girl for hate speech to get her to admit to something that she doesn't want to do. That makes perfect sense. I believe at once upon a time that would be referred to as rape. They were literally raping her.
You heard it here first, folks. Yelling at someone is now literally rape. Yeah, I don't know what else to say at this point. But if you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'd very much appreciate it. And the money helps me improve the channel. Thanks for your time, take care, and cheers.
You take me home, invite me in. The lights go down and we begin.